Welcome back once again to the Control Your Epps-perience podcast. I am your host, the namesake Alan Epps, and I am welcoming you to continue controlling your experience in this wild, crazy world that we currently live in. This has been an eventful week, to say the least. Whole lot of stuff to get into. It's Sunday night. I'm thinking about trying to move the drop day to either Sunday or Monday, just because, I don't know what I thought about Tuesdays, because I figured everybody else dropped Tuesdays, and yeah, but given that it's once a week, Tuesday, if you start listening to it Tuesday, and again, thank you to all my viewers, whether or not you're watching me on YouTube, Spotify, with various other DSPs, Apple Podcasts, and hopefully soon to be Amazon Podcasts, whatever that is, I submitted to it. But thank you guys for showing up. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here rocking with me, all that jazz. But I know it's a lot to sit through just one person talking, so I hope I'm keeping it interesting for you. Again, I welcome any and all feedback, even if it is to say fuck you, I might say it back. But my various socials, my first name Allen, Allen, last name Epps, like Mike and Omar, on Facebook. On Twitter is The Pen is Mightier, with a Z in it. And of course you can email me directly at askapps@gmail.com for any comments, or the comment section on YouTube, whatever it may be. But anyway, I'm looking at switching to maybe Sunday, Monday, just because for a once a week show, a lot of stuff has gone by, and then we're well into the new week by the time you may listen to it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So really just going to come down to how my weekend shapes up. Right now it's late Sunday. It's crazy how busy I get doing nothing. But I'm going to try and move it up because it'll flow better. And in that interest, even though today is Sunday and it's late Sunday, I got to watch my Cowboys at the early game I want to say get dismantled, because it was a close game in stats and numbers, but at the same time, this is some of the most pitiful football I've ever seen out of my franchise. Like, even when we had just terrible records, we didn't give up 40 points, 35 points a week in, week out. But what makes it even crazier is that we're putting up 35 plus points. And in the National Football League, you're not supposed to put that many points up and lose a football game. And of course, we lost it to the freaking turds over there out of Cleveland. But it is what it is, man. Mike Nolan needs to go. I still think Kellen Moore needs to go, because this ain't Boise State. But Dak is out there showing you that he can shoulder the load, but you got to give him a chance. And of course, you know what? I'm in this Dallas Cowboy group on Facebook. I think I just joined it for the memes, but I'm quickly realizing why the rest of y'all hate Cowboys fans. Not even the Cowboys. You hate the Cowboys by proxy of the fans. But I thought it was just, storied hate. Y'all try to tell us how much our rings don't matter, even though your franchise don't have any, whatever. But all up into this stupid group, they're talking about, we lose. Oh, Dak is overrated, or where's Zeke? I'm like, they don't play defense, number one, and number two, y'all sound eerily like those delusional bastards formerly known as Redskin fans, who think a quarterback is just supposed to win a game, where at any point in time there are 22 people on the field. And you know what? Go watch basketball, because basketball is one of the sports that one man can take over any single game at any point in time, and nobody can. It's not sustainable, obviously, but these guys can drop 40, 50, 60 points and win a game on their own. That's not football, okay? Like, the man's throwing for 500 plus yards, 4 touchdowns. What else do you want from him? Like seriously. And it's still not enough, because we're playing from behind. That's the defense's job, to stop them from scoring. And ran. But before football this week even started, we got news that the Titans and the Vikings both had personnel infected with coronavirus, and as such, I believe the games got postponed. And then the Steelers also had a COVID issue. And then finally rounding it out, Cam Newton became, from what as of right now, is the only member of the Patriots to test positive. So they had to move the game from Sunday to Monday night. So obviously our prayers with the players, but I mean, I'm just surprised it took this long to happen. Honestly, they're not working in a bubble, and at the same time, I don't even know that a bubble is practical with so many people that are involved in the football team. The roster itself, over 50 people, the coaching staff, the athletic trainers, the medical personnel, and then not to mention just support people who are carrying logistics and stuff like that. If they had done it, I feel like, or if they were even considering it, I would feel like they would have altered the schedule so it could resemble like kind of like the NCAA tournament where you've got regions, and they would group the regions by the divisions, because that's pretty much how the regions are set up. I mean, the divisions are set up in football now, barring a few outliers, like the reason why the Dallas Cowboys are in the NFC East, even though they're based out of Texas. But that in itself would nobody would basically have a home game, even, and then they would have to play out of X amount of stadiums. And I mean, it's doable, I guess, but the NFL made no effort to even entertain that. They just tried to plow through, just like somebody else who claims, "Oh, we brought football back." Like that's what the country needed right now. But whatever. I hope Cam, pulls through and isn't sidelined too long, because I feel like this is his statement year to come back and remind the league who he was. Yeah. So prayers for them. Moving right along, as the week started, a lot of you don't know this, but I'm a former educator. I use that term lightly because there are people who are dedicated educators, people who went to school for education, who have master's levels, professionals who are only making 35 to 40,000 a year. So don't mean to put myself in that league of these people who this is their life, and they're being forced to give up their dream basically because one, they just can't be compensated enough, and two, it's not even rewarding. With the bureaucracy, it's almost like what the police are crying about, but it's real life for teachers, because I've seen firsthand working in the DC public school system how willing the school system is willing to sell out a teacher to avoid a lawsuit or to rather than fix the issues in the schools. So when I say I'm an educator, it's because I was a substitute teacher, full time, if you will, and then off and on for 2 years. But I've seen, I don't even pretend to understand how stressful this Zoom, virtual schooling environment is. And we've all seen the funny videos about how, like, these kids are at home with their parents, and their parents are, like, getting up half naked or just doing embarrassing stuff in the house that's not meant to see the light of day. So that's yeah. And then we've seen the grim side of it where teachers and other parents are overstepping their bounds and being typical Karens, calling the police on because they perceive a gun in the house. Never mind the fact that that's totally legal, and half the time they're not even real guns, and very much putting us in jeopardy again from being shot by the police. But I won't say even more insidious, because that can actually end your life, but just as insidious, this virtual schooling environment is showing just how critical it is to know who your teacher is, and more importantly for them to know who you are and what you will and will not put up with. And to do that, you got to be involved with your kids in their school, not only what they're doing, telling them to behave, but asking them, reviewing them, what's going on at school? Like, what did you learn today? Yeah, what did y'all talk about that wasn't in the lesson? This, that, and the third. What else happened? Speak to your kids. And on top of that, make sure that you're educating them at home, independent of the school. Like, I don't want to say watch the news, because the news can be kind of grim, but take what you will from the kids and talk about it so that their first experience isn't somewhere where they have to make an uninformed opinion on the spot, or even worse, that they can be influenced by somebody who does not have their best interests at heart or even common experience. Case in point, this teacher thought it was just cool to be, and I don't know what grade they were. They had to have been at least 7th, 8th grade, but it could have been high school. Where this teacher decided to add her own commentary on the George Floyd situation, talking about how he wasn't a hero and he shouldn't be celebrated, criminal record this, criminal record that. And I could tell from the young queen's face, because the video kind of cuts in right as her mom came to hand this teacher her ass. But you could tell that she wasn't there for it. And even if you had any doubt, while the mom was ripping this teacher a new one, you could see her in the back like, yeah, bitch, you tried it. But those educators are real. And if they're that bold to do this in an environment where they know that their classroom is not their classroom. Like a teacher, good teachers anyway, take ownership of their classroom. They decorate it how they want. They sit their kids how they want. They put a seating chart. It's their domain. They are supposed to be the authority figure in here, and they're supposed to wield that authority responsibly. But in a Zoom environment, you're not doing that. And we're seeing the petty shit, you weren't wearing your uniform in my house, or you're eating during class in my house. And we can have the argument. I don't really want to do that now, as to what's appropriate and what's not, as far as being comfortable in your house in a learning environment. But as a teacher, you would think that when you're adding your little extracurricular or personal bias and judgment to things, and that even if you think it's true, that if there was a parent in the classroom or two parents, you wouldn't necessarily be having this talk on this subject, or you wouldn't be saying what you're saying like that. So it's just stupid to me that these teachers, through a camera, have the nerve, audacity, unmitigated gall to even go there, let alone with these head-ass hot takes. But thankfully, the mom heard it and proceeded to tell her about herself. Not only that it was not her position, her place to even be speaking about this in such a way, but how dare you have these microaggressions as a white woman to your black students? What are you really telling them? And of course, she tried to backpedal when she realized how deep and she fucked up. But the mom held her to task for her racism, because that's what it is. That is blatant racism. And you won't know it if you don't even ask your kids what's going on in school, or if you just rely on grades to tell you the full story. Because I can tell you this right now. Growing up, and don't get me wrong, I won't say I was a bad kid, but I was a handful, especially looking back on it as a former educator. I was definitely that kid who you needed attention to make sure that they weren't wilding. But when I say wild, I mean like talking and stuff like that. I wasn't like constantly beating people up or breaking shit or anything like that. But I would get all A's. And this started in elementary school, and I noticed this shit when kids I know to be dumber than me were getting selected for tag and stuff like that. But anyway, I would get all A's or whatever number, the fives, the max mark, except for two places: social skills and behavior. Now, the behavior could go either way. Okay, I talk a lot, and okay, fine. I'll take that mark, the C or whatever. But social skills, I'm the most popular motherfucker in the class. You know what I mean? Like, everybody fucks with me on some level. Even the people who probably shouldn't fuck with me, I can talk to anybody. My social skills were top notch, but I got dinged. Why? Because that's the only subjective area that teachers can mark you down and not have to explain themselves, or it's based on their feelings or what they thought. Which, okay, in a perfect world where the teacher has no reason to lie on you, at least that's what black parents do, and then whack you. Why you gotta see in this? You know what I mean? That's fine. But we've seen what the implicit bias of black people just walking down the street, in their neighborhood, and they get the police called on them. You think that starts only outside? No, they see our kids like that from jump. And it could just be flat out hate. They know your kid is the smartest kid in the class, but for whatever reason they don't like them because, they're always talking whatever, so this is the only place that they can humble them. So parents, I encourage you, and this is really easy for me to say as I don't have any kids, but I can tell you as somebody who's been on the other end, it absolutely happens. And even the best teacher who cares at one point can be stressed and pushed by a system where they have no support, no money, whatever. Not making excuses for racism, but even the most well-meaning teachers can fuck up on this. Just pay attention to what's going on in class. Beyond the grades, just who is teaching your child, what they're teaching, what are their experiences, where there might be a gap, and where there might be bias that is a microaggression that could turn into a macroaggression of racism against your kid. Off my soapbox. Well, no, I'm not. Back on a new soapbox. Fashion Nova. Fashion Nova. I understand all the baddies love Fashion Nova, and you know what? Honestly, I like the Fashion Nova baddies. I guess originally, niggas was clowning chicks on Fashion Nova because I guess the clothes are inexpensive compared to everything else. But I'm with that. Especially since women go through clothes, they wear stuff 2 or 3 times, they don't want to wear it again. And, so there's no point in spending hella money on it. And if you got the body for it, because this shit is like made for IG models, please show me, But now Fashion Nova, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to have a kids line, which of course, if you follow the original philosophy, cheap, stylish clothes, I wasn't really mad at that, because who wants, unless you're an idiot or you're one of the ones who's a single parent trying to prove that your kid won't want for nothing. Nobody wants to put their kid in expensive ass clothes that they're just gonna go tear up at recess or whatever, or that you're not even gonna let your kid go be a kid at recess because they got on nice ass clothes all the time. However, Fashion Nova thinks making kids look like Instagram models is the move. Now, I can't say it's just Fashion Nova. Maybe it was just this ad that the influencer decided to dress their kid up like their outfits in miniature. And it's not even that it's revealing. It's not even that it's sexualizing a child. Although those are aspects that need to be examined. But let kids be fucking kids, man. Like really? Like, we always laugh at the single moms who dress their kids up like the scammer drug dealer that hurt them or left them. Or their real dad. And that kid wanted to dress up like Spider-Man and wear light up shoes. I remember my LA Gears to this day, my nigga. Like, they was hot in these streets. The only time Payless shoes was the fucking move, okay? Let kids be fucking kids. Like, I don't understand this shit. And I'm not saying that some of those Fashion Nova for the girls anyway, can't be nice, but you need judgment. Be careful who you nut in, fellas, because Jesus Christ, somebody's. It's like the pageants. You know, I personally cringe anytime I see kids in little girls in pageants. Just all the makeup. I understand that there's a lot of pageant moms out there. I'm not saying you're a bad parent for putting your kids in pageants, but just the environment can foster some body issues, some image issues when they're not getting validated wins and stuff like that with the pressure. Because a lot of the parents, it becomes about them, not even about the kids anymore. It's about one upping the next person, and the kid gets lost in that, man. Like, let kids be kids. If you want to put them in a bodysuit, all right, but you need to find a way to kid that shit up with a tutu or something. I should not be seeing a form-fitting onesie with what appears to be a kitty heel and lip gloss and all this other shit on a little girl. Not because it makes me attracted to a little girl or that I'm sexualized. It's just that kid's childhood is being stolen from her. And then you know, she won't be able to sell that lie. A lot of you do. Well, I dress up for me and not for attention. Cut it out, please, please. Moving on to more pressing items. So, as suspected, and we talked about it on the last podcast, the grand jury, a member of the grand jury, has come out and has been pushing, even filed for a lawsuit for the transcripts of the grand jury proceedings in Breonna Taylor's case to be released to the public. Which, of course, prosecutor Caillou, looking as head as, was trying to block it because what I suspected would later be found out to be true. He never once even sought justice for Breonna Taylor after invoking her name at the RNC. He sought for justice for everything else but her. He didn't even ask for manslaughter charges, didn't ask for murder charges, didn't even ask for any kind of assault, any kind of punitive action with regards to the loss of life and injury to Breonna Taylor. He was seeking justice for the walls, the bullets that missed. And he tried to frame it that the grand jury did not come back with charges. But thankfully, one of those grand jurors, whether or not it was for self-preservation, not wanting to be scapegoated, or, you know, they felt the need to make sure the public was aware of what had happened in that courtroom, filed suit. And ultimately, I want to say around Monday or Tuesday, it wasn't Daniel Cameron tried to come out, I will comply with the judge's request, but then tried to delay it all week, talking about for confidentiality, safety, they're trying to, you know, redact it. But the transcripts were finally released, as I understand, on Friday or Saturday. Friday, I want to say, and confirmed exactly what we knew. And if you were in Louisville, or I don't even know if I'm saying that, Louisville, get your asses up and vote that coon out of office. And the funny thing is, you know, on the one hand, yeah, he might lose his job. That might have been a plan. You know, he might get rewarded, his biscuits buttered, and he might run for a Senate spot. Or, I don't know, that's Mitch McConnell, but a House spot. Whoever knows what his political aspirations are. But at the same time, they can leave him twisted in the wind because he has to answer for that. And I can't think of what would have happened if that juror had not been the most adamant one to say, no, let the people know. Because we saw what happened with Mike Brown's case, where that prosecutor, at least he owned it. That white man just flat out said, I'm not charging the cops because this is nonsense. Da, da, da. He was terrible, he's wrong, he's racist. Yeah, but he didn't try to put it off on someone else. This no-lip having, jacked up, unrectified with the Lord hairline having ass bastard tried to pull a fast one. And honestly, he needs his ass whooped. Like, I already know what would happen if my last name was Taylor. Like, no. There would be another headline. Just put it like that. So, if you are in Louisville, please make sure you get to your regional elections and vote this fool out. And if you don't know who to vote for, demand, you know, do like what I talked about on my last podcast with my project to try and get, create a database for voter information with regards to prosecutors and judges. You know, go to your clerk's office and demand to know when your candidates have to announce so that you can do your own research and stuff like that, or ask them to explain themselves before they demand your vote. Don't just vote for a ticket, because Democratic judges and prosecutors can do the same damn thing. They want that police union vote too. Okay? So, yeah, we need to make moves because the thoughts and prayers ain't doing it no more. Moving forward, so we were gifted to a travesty of American political theory on Tuesday that was called a debate, but was anything but. It was a low-rent old white man version of World Star, basically, them yelling at each other, this, that, and the third. And I mean, there's a few takeaways that have, honestly and truly, I was shook from jump because Trump appeared calm. That was scary to me, calm and almost presidential. Not presidential that I, admired him or agree with anything he was saying, but calm and measured, which is something we don't get out of Trump. And for about 3 to 4 minutes, that shit was working because it was making Joe look like a crazy old man blathering like Abe Simpson, like, oh, I'm so mad. And Trump was just like, why are you so mad? You know what I mean? But then finally, the same orange idiot we all know and love came out, and from there, that train just went off the rails, man. Like, just Trump would not let this man talk, and then that progressed to him throwing. I mean, he was throwing insults from jump, but then he started talking about this man's dead son, then talked about his live son being a cokehead, and if there was ever a chance for Joe to glass him and nobody would be mad, that was it. But it didn't happen. But that would have been more fulfilling than just watching this bickering the whole time. This shit is so fucking embarrassing. I talked about it on my Facebook how most Americans only speak one language, okay? But that's not typical around the rest of the world. And there's various reasons for it, the size of America itself, geography, just the overall entitlement of Americans not being... But the point is, the rest of the world is able to pay attention to news on a global scene because they understand various languages. English being one of them, but they have several different dialects, whereas we won't know what's going on in the rest of the world unless our news outlets tell us. We can't just go watch, Al Jazeera or Telemundo or whatever it is in their language. So we have to have our news curated to us and have a chance for bias that even more bias than the local news broadcast may have in it. Whereas they can watch our shit show and just shake their fucking heads at us. So that shit was fucking embarrassing, okay? I'm annoyed, not only that my time was... I mean, I wasn't really expecting much. That debate was not going to change my vote either way, but I wanted to see, just put a pulse on how confident the Democrats were coming into this. Because before the debate, there was a story saying that Biden was up 10 points in national polls, which I found dubious itself because when this first started this year, they were talking about, especially with COVID, how he was already in shape for a landslide victory. And 10 points is not a landslide. It's significant, but it's not a landslide. And it was way less than what they were talking about before. And if you recall, right around this time in 2016, Hillary had way more than 10 points. Way more. And we see how that shit turned out. So I just wanted to see if they believed their own bullshit, if they were going to come out confident. And for the most part, Joe did. I won't say he took the bait because at one point it's just like the moderator wasn't going to moderate. Like it took him a good hour or whatever to even try to hold the president in check. Why they don't have the mic cut off or whatever. And this is with a Fox News moderator. So if he cut the mic, Trump couldn't say shit because Fox News is his channel. Now, if they go to this next one and there's a more liberal media source moderator and he cuts the mic, that's all the Republicans are like, oh, they wouldn't let Trump talk. You see the bias, da, 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 da. You know what I mean? But why they don't have mic cutting like in Jeopardy on these things, I don't understand. But it took a good hour for that moderator to show some balls to be like, Mr. President, will you shut the fuck up? He didn't say that out. Joe did. Will you shut up, guy? That shit was priceless. But I think it finally translated to enough Republicans where they were like, wow, this is what this has become. But they knew what they've been dealing with for 4 years, and they don't care because it suits them. They went to that panel ahead as audience members or just voters, undecided voters, allegedly. And, of course, they had that Latino, possibly, I don't know what he was talking about. You don't disrespect the office. Tell that to the motherfucker in the office disrespecting the office. Okay? But he's just there. He was a plant just to show that black people, which on the one hand, again, I'm all for black people not having allegiance to the Democratic Party, but that does not mean have allegiance to Trump and the conservatives. That just tells me that you're just looking for a new pimp. That's all you know how to do is be a hoe. You can't think for yourself. And not even an independent hoe. You need a daddy. So, I don't know. It was just a shit show. I'm tired of this high road shit. I understand not necessarily stooping to your opponent's level, but he is so low that you can come down and still not be on his level. And until the Democrats show some more fight, they don't deserve our vote, man. Like that doesn't come from just. There were so many chances for just quick one-liners. Like you don't even have to just use insults or anything. He was making himself look stupid, and anybody with any kind of shade or gumption, long before he mentioned your fucking kid, you could. I mean, Joe would get some of them in, but again, it took like an hour and a half for him to get it in. Like the when you let him finish, he doesn't know how to do that. Bars, you know what I mean? Like everybody knows this guy's a liar. Bars, you know what I mean? I just don't understand why at this point. This is the last round. Okay, you fought a good fight, a technical fight. You should be ahead on the scorecard, but any fighter knows you don't leave shit in the hands of the judges because judges judge. Knock this motherfucker out. Like, what's it take to just knock this motherfucker out? I don't know. But, and then of course in typical, now I understand why he did it because it's Joe's brand of being sympathetic, empathetic, and everything like that. But this nigga is better than me because once Trump got diagnosed with COVID, which I'm going to get into shortly, but, you know, he pulled his attack ads on Trump, which I ain't even all that attacky. You're just telling his record. Okay, when I hear an attack ad, I'm looking for slander. I'm looking for jokes and bars and, the grim shit that Trump does. Not, hey, he's been fucking up for 4 years. That's not an attack ad. That's facts. And he's pulled those in respect for the president's condition. Whatever, man. I get it, but at the same time, that motherfucker wouldn't have got shit out of me till he was on a fucking ventilator. And even then, only a little bit. All right? And what I was really disappointed, he didn't bring up the fucking taxes. Now, again, maybe he didn't have a chance to because the shit show that was a debate, but that would have been my go-to every time, because that's who is the one who's still looking for a reason to vote for Trump. The motherfuckers who will vote for this dude who paid less taxes than them and is somehow still a billionaire, even though he's cash poor and is greatly benefit from his office. But you broke motherfuckers who can't afford healthcare, who are voting against healthcare, are still voting for this motherfucker and believing it. Don't get me wrong. I'm voting for him, most likely still, because, again, this country hasn't learned its lesson. So I'm voting for him in the sense of a hard head makes a soft eye. I don't believe in Trump. I can't stand that motherfucker. He makes me embarrassed to be an American, among other things. But there's people who support him and believe him. I wish I could vote for a third-party candidate, but all you motherfuckers who are giving me the side eye for voting for Trump are telling me, well, if I don't vote for Biden, that's a vote for Trump. I could take the cop out and write in Bernie or some other third party, or even stay home. But not you guys are forcing me to do this because you motherfuckers won't hold them accountable with withholding your vote. Because, what's the alternative? That's what got us here in the first place. We vote the same way our parents did, our grandparents did. We wonder why we're still fighting the same fight our parents and our grandparents are fighting. And let them guilt you, it's the people who voted third party who gifted Trump the election. Oh, what about the 30-40% of non-voters who you can't get to come to the polls because you suck that much? Because the only measurable that the Democratic Party, the only bar that they strive to achieve to is to be a little bit better than the other guy. That's the state of American politics right now. So anybody who wants to give me shit about not voting for Biden can kiss the tip of my dick, or you can pull up. I live in the DMV. But yeah, so after the debate, I want to say it wasn't even like 18 hours. It was the midnight too, I want to say, that Trump tweeted that he was tested positive for COVID. And typical, you know what, I give y'all props for this. Within 30 seconds, everybody was like, it's a hoax. How do we know he has it? And I said on Facebook, black people are not going to believe Trump has COVID until he dies. And a lot of you went into your scientist bag without actually having the bag. He couldn't have it because it's only 18 hours after this, and he was tested before off of a lot of assumptions that you were told. And now it's like it's been revealed that he showed up late to the fucking debate, too late to even get tested. And they let him go on there any fucking way. Now, whether or not that was a tactic or not, which I believe it was, trying to get out of the debate, they wouldn't let him do it, or it could have been just like the people who believe in Trump. They mass are unnecessary. All this testing is unnecessary. We just got to tell people that we're testing, and they'll leave us alone. The virus ain't that serious. It'll go away. And they're doing. These are the same motherfuckers who, like, that guy who meets a new girl and y'all about to have sex, and he don't know you for a can of paint, but he wants to raw dog you. Like, what, nigga? Oh, I'm clean. Are you clean? Okay, cool. God got us. That's the type of shit that we're dealing with right here. But the fact that he was allowed in that room with the only other person on a ticket who was also old as shit and could have possibly gave it to him is ridiculous. So immediately there was skeptics, and I'm included. Like I wanted to believe it because it tickled my, inner demon to hope that maybe Rona might do something useful and take this fucker out. Yeah, I said it. Fuck him. But it seemed kind of convenient because right after that they were saying that he did so. Even though the RNC self-appointed themselves the winner of the debate, it was saying that it didn't go over well, and of course he still had the bombshell of his taxes being what they were, showing that he didn't pay shit for 10 years and it's only $750 and he's a fucking billionaire, yada 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 yada. So this was a way to dominate the headlines and push all that shit out of there, and also possibly get a sympathy vote, yada yada. So it would have been a solid tactic, and I entertained that conspiracy theories because there was a line from A to B to C, and it made sense. However, within that announcement, within 12 hours, so the next day, he's getting flown on Marine One to Walter Reed. And people have zoomed in on his picture where they speculate that he had a oxygen tube running over his ear and through his hairpiece, which he allegedly spent $70,000 over the last few years in maintenance, but you can see a picture where his damn track is showing, whatever. And that, he's a fat dude already, but he was under his blazer, and what appears to be the outline of an oxygen tank. So, the spin is that, okay, he went to Walter Reed because he's the president. They want to monitor him as thoroughly as possible. Might have been just routine, but others are saying, no, he's much more sick than he's letting on, which would explain why he was so subdued and calm for the first week, because that's out of his character. No, he's fucking exhausted. And the only thing that overcome his exhaustion was him being a head ass. But I don't recall him looking out of breath once he was going off. He just seemed like really calm. Like there wasn't the usual scream or high pitchedness in his voice. It was just this slow, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He was reserved, but he was still talking over you, trying to stop the conversation. So who knows? But yeah, so he goes to Walter Reed, and then of course we get a clusterfuck of information from his doctors, and it's clear that his office is trying to tell the doctors what to say, what not to say, instead of just being 100 with it. I mean, you got HIPAA violations and stuff like that, but at some point, as a public servant, the public has a right to know more so than the average citizen. But you could tell that they were doing spin control, and then they immediately put him on the remdesivir and that other drug, which you typically don't get until your symptoms are at least apparent, but heading towards the more moderate to severe range. But they were saying initially that he's asymptomatic, he just tested positive, him and Melania. And I know she's sick because she's been social distancing that motherfucker before social distancing was a thing. So how she got the cooties. So while that whole speculation was going up, more and more Republicans started popping hot for COVID. And then it became apparent that the Rose Garden event, on which they tried to, or they did nominate Amy Coney Barrett for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's vacant seat, seemed to be the spreading event. And amongst them, Chris Christie, big moose knuckle, fat fuck asthmatic ass, is now tested positive for COVID. So, okay, even if they're faking it for Trump, it's not beyond the realm of suspicion that other Republicans might, see, it's legit. But that was too many of them, okay? So I'm going to go out on record right now saying he definitely has COVID. Now, whether or not we know how severe he is, maybe he is asymptomatic, maybe we just know he's acting like a head ass, because even if he has not one symptom, he's being a whole cunt. He's putting on like little parades, just waving at people, putting people in danger of getting contacted, and beyond that, he's setting a fucking terrible example for anybody else who might have a positive test out there but won't sit in the fucking house and quarantine and keep from infecting the next man. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Honestly and truly. I was patiently waiting for Mitch McConnell's bitch ass name to show up as hot, but it didn't happen. So, I don't know. I think one of them is gonna have to die for it, and it's not that I'm hoping for it, but I guess I am, because I really want to see it, because out of all the people who got this and did everything right, wore masks, and their family, their whole family's gone from this. Whole generations of families gone. But this guy is still, even with the cooties, can't take it fucking seriously. Fuck him and anybody else with him. That's just the long and short of it. But the funny thing is, the same people who, will talk about how they're not going to stand for liberals taking their rights and how, every time a black person is killed by police, he should have complied, he deserved it, da da da, and I hope the next person gets shot, da da da. And now they're the ones on the internet acting, why are you wishing death on the president? And what kind of hate do you have in your heart? And this, that, and the third. And Twitter's bitch ass is becoming no better than Zuckerberg because now they're banning people for hate speech, allegedly, for hoping for the worst for Donald Trump. And before I could even think it, as typical AOC was on it, wait a minute. So you had this ability to stop tweets and ban and block accounts for hate speech? Where was it when her and the squad are outright getting death threats? I couldn't even go on Ilhan Omar's page to wish her condolences for the passing of her father without motherfuckers literally wishing, to not figuratively, not beating around the bush, actively hoping that somebody takes her out. And those tweets are free. But Trump gets a boo-boo, a cootie that not only he got because of his own head-assness, but willingly exposed other people on, from anybody at the debate stage to anybody, in his motorcade, to the pilots on Marine One. Nah, fuck Twitter. Like, for real. I was in Twitter jail for a good week for pointing out how dry-headed of a wench Candace Owens was, but that gets me thrown in jail, but I don't know, man. That's why we're here at the podcast, where I can control my experience because I'm not letting anybody else do it. I personally taken off for election day. I'm just going to spend the whole day. I'm going to go early, get my vote in, and then just enjoy the rest of my day and watch the shit show unfold. But I hope if you have any kind of PTO, if you're able to take the day off, I urge you to do so because, again, I don't trust the mail. Not for the reasons that, Trump's saying you can't trust the mail, but I don't trust the fact that it won't be interfered with. Or you know what I mean? Like, that it isn't already being interfered with, that the post office isn't either being hampered or encouraged to fuck this up. So, yeah. In lighter beef, if you will, elitism is a real problem in black society because it buys into that narrative of white America that only the angels amongst us deserve justice and rights, and that, you're one of the good ones. And we internalize that shit with, some of our college-educated people thinking they're above our tradesmen or people who went a different way in life. And, I've been guilty of it as younger. I actively work against it because there are people who work with their hands, never went to school, who make a lot more money than me. So, and not that money is a single qualifier, but there are people out here, they're parts of society. They have a voice, they have a vote, they are valued. So who are we just because we decided to go get in debt? Most of us, I got a scholarship, but most of us decided to go in debt to get this piece of paper that we're still getting hired for bullshit rates. So who's really dumb here? But moving into that, there's this argument that's popped up about well-done beef steaks. And again, let me first say, eat your fucking meat however you want to eat it. Just understand where I come from. I grew up with that whole scared of getting sick thing, like, no, if I'm going to get a steak, it's going to be well done, because that's what my parents said. I'm not dealing with you, I'm not taking your ass to the doctor, and you're going to eat all this well-done steak. So I thought that's how steak was supposed to be until I was like 16, 17, when I had my first medium steak, and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck was I eating before? And everybody has to have that experience. But I never would have if I was constantly listening to my parents about steak. I think the first time I bit into one, I was like, oh my God, it's still red in the middle. And I was alarmed. But then I kept chewing. I was like, this is fucking amazing. And guess what? I didn't die. And I've been eating them like that ever since. And then I became a hunter, and yeah. So just so you all know, you are not living your best life if you are constantly burning your meat to the point and calling it well done. I understand the concerns, but you're not living your life. But that's your decision to make. However, my only beef for this comes in when I'm taking one of y'all daughters on a date, and we go to some nice restaurant, and she wants to order the steak. And, I'm not one of those dudes. Like, if I took you to the restaurant, get what you want. All right? I know what the average plate price is here. I plan for the worst. Get what you want. Just eat the fucking food, number one. I understand that some of the portions might be big, so you might have to go back, but don't be ordering for it to go. Don't be ordering to take the shit home to your fucking kids. And do not order the top cut of steak on that menu and dare to get it well done. Embarrassing me. That is the equivalent of somebody going somewhere, let me get the scrimps. And we dressed up to come to this fucking restaurant and then I brought you here. Like, what? Now you're gonna. We could have went to fucking Wendy's. We could have went to Fridays for this shit. And y'all be the same chick to be like, you ain't taking me to Fridays. $200 dates. Period. For what? For what? You just ordered a Big Mac, a fancy Big Mac without the bread, because you burnt that steak. Beyond, I will leave you, or you will pay it. Like, no, get the fuck out of here. We what did Drake say on Stay Scheming? She used to soda and nuggets. She really out here thugging. Order her the filet, tell her butterfly, she'll love it. I think that's the bar. But if you want it, you gotta open your mind, okay? Like, if it's out of your comfort zone, say that, but don't act like you're right, because I pity you. And that's the end of that. I asked a question on my Facebook about specifically the black women, and their relationships with police officers. Not necessarily, like traffic stops and shit. I mean, actual relationships, dating them. And the reason why, because I saw a disturbing story out of Tennessee where this black cop, was out there pulling women over and, writing them tickets or whatever, and then getting their phone numbers, which I wondered how at first, because I don't remember ever writing my phone number on a ticket. But then I realized he was running their plates and their registration, and then, that goes back to the NBA, and they might have numbers and address and stuff like that, which is even how he probably got caught, because God knows how many women he did this to who never made a complaint or anything, because they felt, in danger, or maybe they might get out of the ticket. But it got to the point where he called a phone number, and, when you can change address phone numbers like that, and you don't necessarily have to report it to the NBA, and he called the wrong person. And somebody had filed a complaint on him. Basically, he would write you a ticket, leave, and then send some weak-ass flirt and tell, don't be speeding. I just pulled you over. What's up? And that shit is the most creepiest shit ever. Never mind the lack of professionalism. Never mind what you gotta understand is most cops have groupies galore. There are chicks who, chase the badge, chase the handcuffs, you know what I mean, like that, will just fuck a cop just because he's a cop. And this is a younger dude. Like, I can see outside of him being a police officer, him getting bitches and shit like that. So I know that there's groupies out there for him, and he's still doing this shit. You know how it goes beyond thirsty. You're touching the fucking head, and I'm glad that the women involved had the strength to report him, and hopefully he'll be fired soon and off, not only off the streets, but not allowed to be a police officer ever again, because he should not have access to that kind of power and that kind of people's personal information, the ability to hold them over on the side of the road. We saw what happened with Daniel Holtzclaw, because he thought he had power over women of color that were prostitutes, and he was raping women while wearing a badge. So I saw that and I was appalled, of course, but then I went to go ask the black women on my Facebook page, like, do y'all date cops? Like, I understand right now it might not be the thing to do with, the current, well, it's always been like this, but it's just in the forefront of the media, with Black Lives Matter and the hashtags and everything. Does that keep you from dating a cop at all? Whether or not he's black, white, or other, are they just blue to you? And I was surprised that only a couple of the answers said that, that's the issue. But most of the time, they said that they've dated police officers. Some of them were even raised by cops, and they find that the problems that they have with police officers are things that could be attributed to just relationships with bad people, or bad. I don't want to say bad people. They might be good people, but they're just bad to be in a relationship with. But the recurring theme amongst the cops was that they have control issues, that they are. Some of them are domestic abusers, if not physically, but definitely verbally. They want to control where you go, who you talk to, this, that, and the third. Some of them even threaten to, if they leave, to put charges on them, or mess up their records and stuff like that. And that was just disturbing. I didn't even think of that shit. I was more so just looking for the social, does it bother you dating a cop knowing that he could go out there and kill a black man or a black woman? But there we go. So, again, this is not against saying don't date cops. I have a friend from high school. She's a police officer. I think she met her current husband or her only husband on the job, and they look happy as hell. They got 2 sons, black love, yay. But it was just funny to me, because I'm like, what? I just was trying to rationalize what made this dude go out there and risk it all like this. But then, them predator types, they don't be thinking right. It's compulsory, and it's about power a lot of times, especially if they get to the point of physically violating someone. You saw Darren Sharper. Nobody questions that Darren Sharper had his choice of women. In fact, the women that he violated were already willing to go, but he still drugged them because he wanted to have that power over them. So, I don't know. It's just another thing that women have to be cognizant out here of in dealing with these niggas, because niggas don't be rap tight. I didn't mention this last week because there wasn't that much information, and honestly, there isn't that much now. But I want to talk about it because hopefully, maybe one of you will be able to hit me up with anything you know about it. I saw a disturbing report. I want to say 2 weeks ago about a whistleblower stating that in the ICE detention camps, which are still going on by the way, that there were mass hysterectomies being performed on the women in those camps, and this whistleblower, she found out and she immediately went to go tell about it. And since then, I haven't heard jack shit about it. I talked to a few other people, and they said that it wasn't mass hysterectomies, that there are only maybe as low as one, but just a few, and they were done by a certain doctor who was not board certified, which doesn't make it any better. I don't care if one woman lost her uterus unnecessarily. But the fact that he wasn't board certified, like, how did he get, what is the oversight? How is he getting access to these people? And then if they're able to do this shit under the government watch, government funded. These are the same people who are anti-abortion, pro-life, but you're letting people mutilate human beings in a camp. Let me start on that shit. So I haven't heard too much more of it. I haven't, heard anything good or bad about the whistleblower, so I'm assuming she's still alive. But I just hope that doesn't go to the wayside, that somebody is still looking into that, because that shit is just beyond disturbing. So if any of you have any information on it, please hit me up. Let me know where I can look so I can talk about it on a future date, because that's definitely something that deserves our attention. Something that doesn't necessarily deserve our attention, but I'm bringing it up anyways. So Drake dropped a song or an album or something. I don't know. I've been so detached from music. And at some point he shouted out or mentioned that he used to date SZA, who has since unfollowed him, which is, a big thing now in 2020, I guess. Unfollowing people on social media. But I mean, this is typical corny Aubrey. Like he gotta let motherfuckers know what he beat and when he beat it before everybody else, I guess. But at the same time, it's like it's kind of his brand, because I don't know if he's trying to necessarily shit on her, but she's also like, she had that my man is your man, toxic bae. And he was like, yeah, she's toxic to y'all niggas, not me. At least that's the vibe I got. I haven't listened to the fucking song, but that's the only rational reason I can think of Drake doing it. It's still corny, don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning it, but it's corny as fuck. But then, of course, in typical fashion, like, people are trying to spin it off like, oh, I can't Drake, the typical role reversal, which I get why, because women hear this shit all day and it's unfair. But that don't mean that you can just flip it when it don't make no fucking sense. Why can't Drake keep a woman? Y'all tried this shit with Common. Oh, he's a pass around. Like, y'all not doing the passing. He's passing himself around. And y'all are catching it. It's just like, y'all don't be fucking the popular nigga and not letting the world know. Look at Future and his baby mamas. You think they really liked him, or they just wanted to be known as Future's baby mom? Cut it out. But I feel for SZA, because she's got her own brand, her own name, and this shit was just so fucking unnecessary. Just like, Drake, you contradicting yourself. You had a fucking bar about going back to Stay Scheming. Shorty want to tell me secrets about a rap nigga. I told that bitch it's more attractive when you hold it down. Be the bitch that holds it down, Aubrey. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I need more sound effects, because the gunshots are the gunshots, but I feel kind of self-aggrandizing giving myself gunshots. So, yeah. Need to look at some more sound effects. But still, those are bars. Live by them. Weirdo. But the women are weird too, because I saw something on Facebook. So, I'm already wary of you chicks who swear you're witches. There was a meme that was like, you're not a witch, you're just mentally ill with candles. And I laughed way harder than I probably should have, but there's some truth to that shit. The rocks, and I don't knock anybody. I look at it as freedom of spirituality and religion or whatever. It might not be organized religion, but it's your belief. So I try not to be condescending and pejorative in that, other than to state that I don't believe in none of this shit. But to each their own. However, some of y'all are like vegans in that not only do you just believe it, but you try to push it on other people and try to make them look crazy for not buying into it. And I saw this ad by this woman, a black woman, and she was clearly trying to sell these crystals, which, okay, fine, and she's got an audience for that, not knocking them. And she made this whole list of what each crystal, from amethyst to quartz to whatever the other ones were, about how this will heal this and fix your mood that and stop you from doing this toxic behavior or make you more less vulnerable to that toxic behavior from others, this, that, and the third. And as my boy John Yancey will later come on the post, he was like, this bitch got these birds believing in magic rocks. That this shit is gonna do something to you. Anything on this list, no, you need to go to therapy, bitches. Like still crying about this shit. Shout out John Yancey, Parkdale Panther, O3 alum in the building. But yeah, man, like, and then okay, that's in itself, right? I framed it that crystals, magic, whatever. These aren't just like geodes or little decorations and shit like that that you can have around the house while you light your candles and sneak it up with the sage, whatever. No, she has carved these shits into fucking dildos. like literally cocks. All right, and even carved out a little sack and everything, and of varying sizes, but they all look pretty big. And I think that's not just me. It's just like even the women who are typically like, "Ah, this ain't big," are on there like, "Oh my god, that looks painful." I don't know if it's because it's a rock and dumb hard or just threatening to stretch their walls, but whatever. So that was the main concern. But then of course you got the hippie bitches. Ooh, I'm gonna look into this. What do I order? And then some of the more smart ones were like, wait a minute, aren't crystals porous? At which point somebody in the comments was like, yeah, they are porous, but you're supposed to treat them with something to clean them in between and to make them less absorption and to make sure you kill bacteria. Whatever. That just seems like a lot for a fucking dildo when you can just go get a glass one and be done with it. But yeah, man, and you're calling it pussy magic, and this will realign your pussy chakras, and all this actual dick out here, and you broads. I almost felt better when y'all were abusing the produce aisle with the cucumbers and shit. At least that's organic of the earth. If you go to Trader Joe's, I guess. But yeah, man, y'all some weirdos, and of course y'all be like, men fuck anything, but then here go the women with, Geodude, I choose you, or maybe Onyx because it's long. Geodude has a certain ring to it. Rock, Geodude, dildo, because you don't got a man. See what I did? Yeah. Yeah, man, this week has been fucking insane. Fucking insane. I don't know where everything's gonna go. I for those of you who don't know, I actually used to be in shape when I got out of the military. But I've in my civilianness over the last couple of years with this job I hate that stresses me out. I got fat. Like I got up to like 230, 240 depending on which scale you're on, and it's all goo. Like I got like a dad bod with no kid. That was my joke with my sister, who, you know, I was just as big as she was when she had her baby, but now she's actually gotten not just back in shape but shredded. She did a fitness competition, did pretty well on the first one, then went to the nationals, and then so she's gonna try and get her pro card at some point. But anyway, she's ripped again, and I'm still gooey. So I said, you know what? Let me unfuck this because I honestly don't appreciate how some of you women be talking to me. You weren't talking to me like this when I had abs, all right? So you hip. Just understand when I get that V cut back, I'm going full dickhead, all right? Yeah. But I say all that to say that you gotta take care of yourself, take care of your health, and I'm losing my weight, and part of the things I've been doing up to this point is nothing but diet. My sister put me on a meal plan, and I was able to shed upwards of 25 pounds just by eating correctly. So again, I knew this from before, but I never really had an issue with my weight. I was always trying to gain weight, gain muscle. But now I gotta lose fat. So you can't outlive or outrun your fork. But two, I haven't even been trying because I hate fucking cardio. I barely liked it when I was in shape to do well in the PT test, but as soon as I started getting heavier, I understood why people do not like to run. But there's no way around it. I got to do cardio. So to ease into it, I decided to go on a walk with a Delta friend of mine and I was wearing my body armor. And we were walking at a very, very, very leisurely toll. So my heart rate wasn't up. It was just more of an enjoying the lake. We walked for a good 2.5 miles. But at the end of it, man, my knees were upset. So I'm glad I didn't just go straight into running and everything like that. But I'm going to make a concerted effort tomorrow to go do some cardio and actually run, get my heart rate up to try and accelerate this. Trying to be anywhere from 185 to 195, even 200 of Twisted Steel and Sex Appeal. But the main thing is my body fat concentration. And melt the butter off before I actually go back into the gym. Trying to spend the minimum amount of time in the gym, not because I don't like lifting. I actually like lifting weights and everything, but I feel like the gym or the cootie factories, you know, the petri dishes where LA Fitness was already trash about not always having sanitizer and paper towels available pre-COVID. So I don't want to go in there and spend any more time than I have to. So yeah, but don't let the so use this as an opportunity if you're home more, to work out more, or don't let I guess a lot of people are suffering from depression, and I guess that was a form of it. I was eating a lot and eating a lot of bullshit, and I just got gooey. So protect your health as much as you can, and don't let that manifestation of depression or lower vibrations, whatever you want to call it, affect your quality of life, because it doesn't have to. Because this is, you only get one life. You never know when it's going to be snatched away. And I was trying to find something else to end on, but there's really nothing else out there for me right now. Thomas Jefferson Byrd, you may not know the name, but you've seen his face, I guarantee you. He's an actor who's done a lot of Spike Lee movies. I've got it written right here. Hold on, get out of the way. Yeah, but he was in the 70s. He made his first debut in 1992 on an episode of In the Heat of the Night. Forgive my singing. That old show. And then he's been on, several collaborations with Spike Lee, who broke the news to us that he had been murdered over the weekend in Atlanta. Who the fuck shoots a 70-year-old man? I don't fucking know. And that's just peak 2020. But appearing in as Errol Barnes in the movie Clockers, and Evan Thomas Sr. on Get on the Bus. And in decades since, Byrd appeared in several other lead films as Honeycutt in 2000's Bamboozled, Deacon Z in 2012's Red Hook Summer, Bishop Z in 2014's The Sweet Blood of Jesus, Apollo in 2015's Chirac, and Stokey Darling in multiple episodes of She's Gotta Have It, the dad, Nola Darling's quick-witted and sharp-tongued father. He's also been in the movie Set It Off. He was on the episode of Law and Order Criminal Intent, Living Single, and The Last OG. And his final role was in the upcoming Civil War movie Freedom's Path. So obviously it goes without saying, I pray for justice for him, and I don't understand what the hell's going on in these streets. And that brings up another one, man. Rick Moranis, Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, Ghostbusters, Little Shop of Horrors. Somebody just laid this dude out. And if you know anything about Rick Moranis, he was a big name in Hollywood. He had done so many blockbusters, and back to back to back to back, like right after he could not miss. He had the world at his feet, and he walked away from Hollywood to take care of his family. That's why we haven't seen him. It's not because he couldn't get hired again. He was in demand, and he walked away kind of like Chappelle did at the top of his career. And he don't bother nobody. And this dude comes outside, and some nigga just knocked him the fuck out for no reason. And from what I understand, in New York, there's like a rising incidence of random white people getting knocked the fuck out in the street, which is wrong. I'm not condoning it, but I understand why. It's just people just fucking fed up. But that is not an excuse to just go socking people, man. I hate that for Rick Moranis. I hope he's all right. I haven't heard anything about hospitalization or anything, but who knows what that does to your psyche if you already, were away from the world for whatever reason, and you come out, and boom! The fuck, man? I don't know. Y'all stay safe out here, man. Like protect your neck, protect your well-being, protect your mental health, protect the people around you. Wear your fucking mask, and tell people about it who don't, because our president won't. And I will see you all next week. Again, please like, share, subscribe, whether or not you're watching this on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. And I want to talk about what you guys want to hear about. So use that email, askapps@gmail.com. Tweet me, Facebook me, whatever it may be. This is your show just as much as mine. And I do invite you to continue controlling your experience. That's all I got. See y'all next week.